Welcome back, guys. So, as you can see, there is a selection of swinging arms on this table here, including one at the end that is still in the packaging, but I'll talk about that one at the end. Um, you know, Hopefully this video comes across um, as a bit of research and a bit of information for anybody that has a particular bike that I want to speak about. And it is in regard to my um, Suzuki GSX 750 Inazuma. I've always, even though I'm primarily a Kawasaki ZRX guy, I've always had a soft spot for old school Suzukis. And back in the day, whenever I was an awful lot younger, about 19, 20, I had the GS series of bikes, the GS 550 and the GS 750, a 1977 GS 750 actually, and it had wire spoke wheels, and it had the double front disc conversion on it. And whenever I seen the GSX 750 Inazuma coming along a road one day, I wondered, what on earth is that bike? It looked a bit like a Kawasaki Zephyr, but I found out later that it was Suzuki. I liked the way it was old school, twin shock, retro style. At that time, the popular bike from Suzuki that was out was the Bandit, Suzuki Bandit. Of course, it's a mono shock, and they were available in the Bandit 600 and Bandit 1200. Now, the Suzuki GSX 750 appealed to me because it was the old school twin rear shocks, and it reminded me of the GS 750 that I had years ago, and I always loved it. And when it came into this country, it only actually there were very few of them came in, and uh, I think whenever I'm in Northern Ireland, and the main Suzuki dealer, whenever I went to see it, told me that the one that I eventually ended up buying back in 2002 was actually one of only 12. And it was the very last one, and they weren't getting any more in. And in the UK, it only came in the 750 version. And although on the continent, they had the option of the Inazuma 1200 as well, but we never got that. We only got the 750. And anyway, uh, of course, I went for it. And I'll just show you a couple of pictures. This video is going to be mainly sort of me waffling and uh, more or less old photographs coming up in the form of almost like a slideshow. So there it is, brand new, the day I brought it home. Not a thing done to it. And yeah, there are screenshots of old photographs that I had. So over the years, obviously, you make a few changes, and the first change that I made to that bike was putting on a replacement can. That one's an art can. So then it progressed on to polished swinging arm, polished engine cases, polished rims, and chain guard, etc. And had to do that as well. And then, of course, there was the windowed cases or windowed engine cases, and that was in vogue at the time, so I wanted those too. And then, of course, I wanted Olin's rear shocks for it, and those are the Olin's rear shocks for a GSX 1400, and I had them recalibrated by Clarence Bell of Grey Abbey here in Northern Ireland. Well, you can't really have Olin's rear shocks and not have the forks, so I wanted the forks as well, and I had to actually send to Japan for those forks, and cost a fortune to bring them over on import duty, and quite a bit of work in order to try and get them to fit. But anyway, in they went. So I actually did what I thought was going to be the final build of that bike back in 2013. And, as you can see, it looks pretty, you know, in keeping with what bikes looked like back in the day. And, I really loved it. And that, but, times change. And it was one of those bikes that I always um, would have loved to had, wire wheels for, because it's old school. Oh, and I also got stainless steel wheel axles made for it as well. Um, and those were fitted to that build too. So I finally got a company to build me a set of wire spoke wheels for that bike in Italy, a company called Kineo. And um, they had to go in, but that meant that I really wanted to take the bike apart and redo the whole bike and pretty much sort of bring it back to sort of stock, but with the exception of the forks and the wheels. But and I mean, and also upgrade the Brembo brakes, etc. But or the brakes to Brembo, etc. But I wanted this was the final look that I wanted for the bike. The wire spoke wheels are the tubeless type, and then of course by that time I wanted to rebuild the bike, so the engine came out, the frame, it was right down to the frame, the wire and loom came out, everything came out of the bike, and it was it's just a complete rebuild. But trying to get it was a rare bike to begin with, but getting parts for it was pretty difficult at that time, But yeah, I was able to search all over the continent, and it was mainly all over the continent because there was really nothing in Britain for it. Basically couldn't get anything for the bike, and of course by that time, the bike was over 20 years old, so you couldn't really sort of get anything that was that was of any use. I had to go to the Netherlands and Germany and France and all over the place to get bits for it. And yeah, I finally got enough. Getting a full rear um, mudguard that wasn't cut. Getting whatever I needed to get for it was problematic, but you know anyway, I got it done, and I was very happy with it. However, when I say I was very happy with it, I discovered something with this bike. Now, I was the only owner of this bike. Nobody. I bought it brand new. It had never been really sort of abused or anything. But anyway, I took, as I say, I had the bike right down to the bare frame. I took the swinging arm out. And to my horror, I noticed a crack in the swinging arm at the right hand side at the front of the pivot area, where the bearing recess is in. I didn't I didn't didn't know what to think at all whenever I seen that, but yeah, it was there, and wasn't a big lot I could do about it, And I thought, what the heck is that, And that's whenever I bought a couple of other swinging arms, thinking maybe I could fit those. But in the end, I just decided at the time to have the swinging arm welded and refinished, stripped off, powder coated, and refinished, as you can see. So then I checked online. There's a couple of Kawasaki, a couple of Suzuki Inazuma forums on Facebook, and I checked online there with those guys, and to my amazement, I wasn't the only one. There were a number of other instances where those guys' swinging arms had also cracked in various places, as you can see here. And they weren't all in the same places where mine was cracked. Some of them were cracked at the very end, where the wheel axle goes through. Some of them are cracked at the end where the chain adjusters operate it. It looked to be, something there that was definitely needing further investigation. And although my swinging arm had been welded and caused me no issues, well, it niggled away at me, and I decided then that I would look at maybe fitting a different swinging arm. So I bought a GSX 1400 swinging arm. The swinging arm of the Suzuki Inazuma, as I was saying, the Suzuki Inazuma 750 and 1200 is a fairly rare bike, but as with all bikes, there are parts that carry over from various other bikes. And, the swinging arm in it is exactly the same as the one that was in the very early 2000s. It's like a throwback to a 1980s endurance racer bike, and it's called a GS 1200 SS. And as you can see here, it's the same swinging arm in it. Now that bike was only really, you really couldn't get it in Britain unless it was a grey import. It was really just a bike that you'd have got in the Far East, in Japan, maybe Thailand, various places like that, but it was mainly Japanese only bike. And you would get a couple of them here in Britain, but next to none, really, to be honest. But anyway, it's got the same swinging arm as the Suzuki Inazuma, and I bought a replacement, a replacement Suzuki Inazuma swinging arm, and there's it there. See this one? But I thought, yeah, it's just a replacement one I bought just to have in stock. But anyway, as well as buying that, I also bought the GSX 1200 swinging arm here. And yeah, you can, I've seen one fitted in someone's bike. It is possible to do it. And but I mean, here's some pictures of it. Actually, I offered it up into the frame of my bike whenever I was building the bike at the time. And although it fits widthwise at the pivot area of the, where the pivot goes through in the frame, it's an awful lot, well, it's different really from the Inazuma swinging arm. And it's what I'll point it out to you. It's wider here, like it's 90 millimeter here. The Inazuma one is only 70 millimeters. It's gonna hit a little lug on the frame where the pivot shaft for the rear brake goes through. So it comes close to that. It's a lot wider here. Of course, you could get over that with spacers and things. You would have to move either the lower shock mount lugs as well, or else space out the upper shock mount lugs on the frame so that the shocks are vertical. The guy who I seen had fitted his, he used a Hayabusa rear wheel. That's not an option for me because, of course, I wanted the wire spoke wheels in my bike. So then, there was just a couple of things, and you couldn't have also the chain guide either, and also the rear axle for the bike is a 25mm one, whereas on my bike and the stock one is 20mm diameter. But I mean, these things can all be overcome with spacers and top hat spacers, etc. But even so, it wasn't for me, and it was too big, and also the angle that the arms of it went out at, it put it very, very close to the edge of the frame, or the part of the frame cradle where it almost touched it. But yeah, as I say, I've seen it done, but I went for something else, and in the end, then I bought this one here, which is a Yamaha XJR 1200 swinging arm. Now it's closer in shape to the Inazuma swinging arm, in that it doesn't splay out at quite the sharp angle that the 1400 one does. It's more like this one, and but this area here is far too wide and obviously needs reduced. Now, fortunately, there's enough of a recess in here for the bearings that will allow you to do that. And but of course, once again, the lower shock mount need moved in, and they also need moved back a wee bit in order to retain your ride height. And I bought the pieces for the chain adjuster. Now the XJR 12 or 1300 one is slightly different. The chain adjuster blocks are different as well, and also it takes a 25mm diameter rear axle. And I was almost going to use that. Like, once again, it's 90mm here as opposed to 70mm for this one, so it puts it perilously close again to that little lug that the pivot shaft of the rear brake pedal passes through. But as I say, there's ways around it. You can't use the chain guide either. You would have to make something here, and anyway, I was almost going to use it until I come across this end one here, and it's something. I'll show you it now. Right now, this one here, as you can see, I haven't even opened it out of the packaging where I bought it. And, I was thinking all the time, wouldn't it be great if you could just get a swinging arm that was plug and play, that just fitted the bike, exactly the same as the stock GSX 750 and 1200 swinging arm, but it was a nicer one, and but still it fitted, and it was plug and play and wasn't cracked. And I was actually able to, I've been hunting for one for years, and this one I was able to get. Once again, it's from a rare bike. It's from a bike that was only produced in Japan, called a GSX 400 Impulse, but with twin shocks. Now, it never was imported into Britain or anything, and it was a Japanese only bike. And I used to go on to Japanese websites and eBay in Japan and all sorts of places to try and get one. They're as rare as hen's teeth, and I thought I'm never going to get one. But anyway, I got one. This is it. I haven't even opened it up yet, so I have no idea what it even, the condition of it or anything. But from the photographs, I am assured, uh, well, I'm as sure as I can be that it's what I want. So I'll just open it up. As I say, you're seeing it as I'm seeing it. I haven't even opened it up yet, so this is what we're seeing as it comes. Obviously, it's used and it's from a bike, from a used bike. So it'll obviously have to be re-finished and everything. But anyway, let's see what this here is like and see if it's just what I want. All right, so here it is. The guys has also taken the time to write the sizes of everything on, and yeah, it's absolutely just what I want. I like the way, see the back of it here is different from mine. That's the stock Inazuma one. See the way the stock Inazuma one, just it seems to be cut off. This here seems to be, this part on this arm seems to be cut off, and this completely different chain adjuster affair block is welded on in its place. See the stock one, you've got a chain adjuster which is basically a plate that has a kind of like a pressed metal section that passes up the inside, and there's a hole in it, and as you turn the wee screw on the end of the plate, it draws the block inside backwards or forwards, and that is, whenever you tighten that up, whenever you tighten that there up, because it's only a light metal kind of a insert there, crushes that a wee bit. And you've seen in the pictures, some of them have actually cracked there, or they're fractured. So although this arm here is in perfect condition, that way there's no cracks or anything on it, I think this one here is a bit more trick looking, in that respect. So yeah, I've just got to